Friends, we're back. We are back, baby. It's Everything Mayer after a week off. Thank you so much for returning and allowing me a 1 week break on the show. We are cranking along on this show. If you're new here, this is the Everything Mayer podcast where we talk everything John Mayer. And boy, oh boy, did I pick a week to take off. Well, we have it. It's here, sort of. New music from John Mayer. We're going to talk about that today. Get your thoughts, get your feelings, and we're going to revisit a recurring theme on this show, which is John Mayer's new music production, or lack thereof, and how we all feel about it. Before we jump into that, as always, if you watch this or listen to this all the way through to the end, that's the best, easy, free way to support the show. Of course, subscribe, like, comment. If you're super interested in supporting what I do here, check out joining as a channel member on YouTube or picking up some of our fine merch. And yes, I have to plug the coffee cup because the coffee cup is sweet, I think. We'll keep it out. Should we keep it out in this show for those of you watching? Let's see. Yeah, we'll keep it right there as a constant reminder of the merch. All right, so I did mention I'm glad I took the week off when I did, because had I taken this week off, I think I would have had to amend that decision because we have a snippet of new John Mayer music coming out on August 30th, sort of. So it is a collaboration. It's a collaboration, but it's a different collaboration, I think, than we've seen in recent weeks or months with Mayer. This features a lead vocal, a lead melody line in one of the new Zedd tracks, and he's coming out with an entire record. There's some interesting things on that record, by the way. There's even a sample of a Jeff Buckley song, which if you don't know who Jeff Buckley is, you do know who Jeff Buckley is because you probably heard his version of Hallelujah, which most of us who play guitar and cover that song are doing like kind of a mashup of Jeff Buckley's version and Rufus Wainwright's version. But it's going to be interesting. So let's be honest with ourselves for a moment, and you tell me in the comments, were you listening to Zedd's music as a John Mayer fan? I was aware of it, but I was not listening to it. So am I going to listen to it now? Yeah, obviously, of course, because we're getting Automatic Yes featuring John Mayer, but realistically, were you paying attention before? I don't know. Maybe there's more crossover, than I even realized between those two fan bases. But for me personally, there wasn't much there. So, but that's okay. That's okay, because one thing I love about John Mayer is that, particularly through the recent collaborations, I'm learning about new artists that I otherwise would not have known about. And Zedd is certainly one of them who I was aware of, but now we'll dig into more. Zach Bryan, who we've talked about before, that's another recent one that, I was completely unaware of. Well, not completely, but mostly unaware of before John Mayer collaborated with him. So what are your thoughts on Automatic Yes? We got about maybe a 10 to 15 second clip on Instagram. And to some extent, this collaboration is not a huge surprise. Tweets, when it used to be called Twitter, from like 2017 have resurfaced where Zedd and John Mayer were going back and forth, talking about doing a collaboration. I doubt that what we're hearing here was done back in 2017, but you never know. Who knows? Maybe you just hung on to it that long. Maybe I'd hang on to it till the Columbia Records thing was over with. I don't know. I think we'll find out. Maybe Mayer will elaborate a little more on what exactly went into producing this track and singing on it. And singing on it is where I think this distinguishes, some of the other things. Mayer's lent some backing vocals on some things, some guitar playing certainly. The song "A Tree Falls" by Annika Bennett. We'll talk about that in just a moment as well. Just come back to that story. He serves as a producer on that track and definitely played and sang on it, in a more subdued way, though. This is a lead line, top line right out there, John Mayer lead vocal, which I think is why everyone is more excited than normal for this collaboration. And because it's the closest we've gotten to a new John Mayer song. It's a new melody. It's a melody he's singing. And, while we love the guitar playing and the producing, what really honestly draws most people to Mayer's music are the vocal melodies and the lyrics. Now, the guitar players in the audience are rolling their eyes. They're saying, no, that's not true. It's the riffs. It's the solos. And yes, I think it's become that for a lot of us. But I mean, if I'm being honest, the first thing that attracted me to John's music was the lyrics on Room for Squares, the melodies on Room for Squares, and then, of course, following after that, the music and the guitar parts. So this is super cool. I'm curious to see how much of a fully formed song this is outside of the clip that we got. It's clearly different style music than what we would normally associate with John Mayer, which is cool. And clearly Zedd took a vocal line, took a melody that I'm assuming Mayer came up with. Maybe it was a collaborative thing between the two of them. I know Zedd's a musician as well. So I don't know exactly how that came about, but I'm assuming that Zedd, as the DJ producer type that he is, chopped it up and kind of turned it into what we hear there. And I'm wondering, are there any more melody elements or verse elements or lyrical elements that we're not hearing in that particular clip that we got? Or did we get basically everything? Because sometimes in these EDM sort of songs, like, it's a repetitive hook that's used over and over and over again. Maybe it's chopped up in different ways to create variety, but it doesn't necessarily follow the typical song structure that someone like John Mayer would follow. So I'm very curious to hear the whole thing. Also, I've listened to the clip maybe 3 or 4 times. I didn't hear any guitar. I'm wondering if there's going to be guitar on this that we just don't hear in this section. Maybe someone who listened on headphones rather than their phone who was paying more close attention than I was might be able to tell me whether or not there's guitar on this. So that'd be kind of cool too, to hear Mayer drop some guitar playing in on this. But what do you think? I always go back to the same question, as we're going to keep asking this question until we get a new John Mayer single or record. Does this satisfy your thirst for new John Mayer music? Does this fill the same void that, say, a new single would fill? For me, no. I think it's cool. I think it's interesting, and I think it really is a product of his not being on Columbia Records. He basically said as much when he released that statement, saying that he's excited to collaborate with artists in the future. And we're seeing that now. We're seeing him as a producer, a collaborator, much more so than what we were seeing in the past. He's done it before, but this has become kind of, musically, after Dead and Company, the main way we're getting output from him these days, which is fun. It's cool. I think it's a turn that many artists take in their career, particularly artists that are capable of doing this. And John Mayer is incredibly capable of doing just that, being a producer, being a guest artist. So we're seeing that now, and it's creatively, he gets to pop in, do something, finish something, work in an environment that's different than what he's normally worked in, and then move on. Whereas, if you make an entire John Mayer record, which is 10 or 12 songs, then you're kind of stuck there. Not stuck, but you're in that world, in traditional sense, the release, promotion, tour cycle, that kind of thing. So certainly attention span wise, if he's in that feeling of like, I just want to work on as many different things as I possibly can, the collabs and stuff are absolutely going to satisfy that, I think, from as close as getting, I can't get inside his head, obviously, but I'm thinking that is part of the motivation for wanting to do this type of thing. Moving on to another topic, though. Speaking of John Mayer albums, we've got an anniversary of Paradise Valley that just went by. I want to get my dates right on this. And while I do that, I would like to make an admission. I have made some mistakes over the years, not in my ranking of the albums, but in what album I think a song is on. And there have been a few Paradise Valley songs, and we just crossed over the 11th anniversary of Paradise Valley, which, if you're not familiar, was the album that came right after Born and Raised, and that's where I think the confusion for me comes in to play on this one, is that I have confused songs for being on Born and Raised when they're actually on Paradise Valley, which as a whole is not my favorite record. However, songs like Wildfire, which I've always known has been on Paradise Valley, it's got a vibe that fits that. Dear Marie, Waiting on the Day, and there was one more. No, just those two. That Dear Marie and Waiting on the Day, I always think are on Born and Raised, but they are not. So I have to constantly remind myself. And it was like a double album almost. It came out in such a rapid succession after Born and Raised that I have a hard time separating the two. Paradise Valley is a little bit more experimental with some of just the sounds on the record. It's got the collaboration with Katy Perry. It's got the collaboration with Frank Ocean. So there's some different, like, maybe kind of loose ends on it, I feel like. And maybe that's why the record wasn't as impactful to me as Born and Raised. Born and Raised is such a front to back wonderful idea without being like a weird concept album. Kind of is a concept album. I mean, it's similar to like Sob Rock in that like the whole tour and vibe and his attire all were encompassed in this one type of thing, along with the music, of course. But Paradise Valley sort of did that, and it also sort of didn't. So, but as the anniversary passed of it being released 11 years ago, you know, I just reflected on it. And also, I would like to reflect on the fact that I have even gone as far in years past as confusing the album cover of Paradise Valley for Born and Raised, which I know is ridiculous because Born and Raised has such a distinctive artwork to it. But for whatever reason, at some point, I remember in the last like 5 years, deleting Born and Raised album artwork from my brain and replacing it with John standing out in the field with a really cool outfit and hat and everything. I think his dog Moose is in that picture too. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's Born and Raised. No, it's not. Definitely not Born and Raised. Paradise Valley. So you can see even a Mayer superfan like me makes a mistake every once in a while. But that's where you guys come in to correct me and help me keep things on the rails with the show. I did mention wanting to circle back, as we say these days, and talk about the A Tree Falls Anika Bennett song that John serves as producer on. And I'm going to drop in right here through the magic of editing because I don't have it prepared for me. Her telling of the story of how that came about, which I found to be absolutely fascinating as a musician myself and John Mayer fan.
A lot of people have been asking me how John Mayer ended up producing my songs, so this is the story. Basically, last year he posted a song of mine called Mad Woman on his story and like followed me, and I DM'd him. I was like, dude, I love you, because he's literally the reason I wanted to be a musician, truly. And then I met him after one of his shows and we talked for a while, and he was like, send me songs you're working on if you want feedback, whatever. So I sent him some songs. He sent me like really nice notes. And then a couple months after that, I wrote that song A Tree Falls, and I was having trouble figuring out what production direction to take it in. I was like, should it be more stripped back or a full band, whatever? And then I was like, who can I ask for advice on this? Literal John Mayer. So I sent him the song and he loved it, and he was sending me notes as he was listening, like ideas and just what he liked, all that stuff. And then he was like, if you want help producing it, I'd love to help. And I was like, dude, yes. So he booked a studio for 2 days and recorded a bunch of stuff. He had some of his guys play on it, Aaron Sterling and Sean Hurley, who are amazing. And yeah, and then that's the song you hear. All in all, it was just such a dream. Like, he's so kind and so fun to work with and just so passionate about music, and obviously a genius at producing and everything. But yeah, it was so sick. Love him. Listen to the song. You could hear certain things he plays on it that are like very iconically John Mayer guitar lines, which is so sick. I feel so lucky that he wanted to be a part of the song.
Haha, you love to hear it. You love to hear it. In her own words, how cool is that? How cool is that? The magic of the internet. And I'm assuming I'll take it at face value that this was just a random find on Mayer's part. And there wasn't some backdoor connection through management or something like that. But if I'm being honest, there probably was. But you never know. You never know. Regardless of that, it's still super cool that he would actually like offer to give notes, which is amazing. I mean, can you imagine being a songwriter and being able to bounce off notes to one of our best songwriters of the last 30 years? Really, really cool. And then just have him be like, you know what? You don't know what direction you want to take this? Why don't I take it in a direction for you as the producer? Super cool. Played on it. Aaron Sterling plays on it. Sean Hurley plays on it. Magical rhythm section combination right there, obviously. So it really is a brilliant song. Honestly, it's really, really, really good. Even just the song alone without the Mayer production and additions. Really, really cool. And I have yet to dig into the rest of her music, but much like Zedd, thanks to Mr. Mayer, I will do so. And I hope that you do too. That brings us, of course, to the now famous or infamous After Dinner Mint, where I will tell you, if you've been waiting for that giveaway, it's coming. I'm going to drop the link in the description of this video. If you're listening on YouTube, come over to YouTube. If you're not listening on YouTube, subscribe while you're there and sign up for the mailing list. That is how you're going to be able to enter this giveaway. I'm still working on the rules. They will be posted on my website, and we'll talk more about in the main portion of the show when the giveaway actually goes live. It doesn't matter when you sign up to the email list, though. You're eligible either way. So that being said, that's like the biggest piece of administrative business I have in this post Dead and Company at the Sphere era. I feel excited about it just because, you know, we're still getting stuff, which is really cool. I did not expect a collab with a vocal line to come out with Mayer singing, which was just great. It's really cool. I am like reserving my excitement though, because I don't know how much more of Mayer you're really going to get on that song than what you heard there. I don't suspect that there's going to be any real impactful thing beyond what we heard there. I think that's kind of the hook, but I could be wrong. Still cool, still exciting, but I could be wrong on that. Maybe there is something that's just not deployed yet. But usually I feel like what we got there was kind of the gist of it, which again, very cool, exciting. But if I'm being honest, the A Tree Falls Annika Bennett song excites me a lot more, even though it's not him singing it. It's cool to see him act in a producer role, which I think is interesting, but again, not necessarily fulfilling in the way that a new John Mayer song would actually be fulfilling. So let's see what else. Months ago, I talked about some exciting things happening for the show. They are still in the works, and as far as I know, they are still happening. And it's a strategic partnership that will hopefully allow for some pretty legit guests on the show. I hope. I'm very hesitant at this point, if I'm being completely honest with you, After Dinner Mint people, just because I want to make sure it's actually going to happen. It's supposed to. But you know, of course, things change. You never know. So I don't want to spill the beans before everything's booked and filmed and ready to come out. But hopefully the next 6 to 8 months will be exciting. And that's kind of my plan for the show, is that what I'm hoping, again, inside baseball here, for you people who have stuck around this long into the After Dinner Mint, inside baseball, my hope for the show is that what I'm talking about will pan out. It will equate to a season of episodes with a theme across the episodes, likely 8-ish episodes, maybe 10. And then once those are out, I'm hoping there won't be too big of a break until we get new John Mayer music. So I'm thinking like that will take us into probably halfway through 2025-ish. That this hopefully what I'm hoping is going to happen. And then I'm also hoping that will dovetail into Mayer releasing new music later in 2025, and that's where my excitement really grows for this show, is that I think we're going to get a lot of new people coming to the show once we start breaking down new Mayer releases and music. And that's kind of what happened with Sabrock. That kicked off my YouTube journey in a way that I never expected it to go. I mean, I'm in a totally different sphere now. I know some of you are still here from those initial Sabrock videos I did on my main channel back in 2021, which is mind-blowing to me because I've pivoted that channel big time away from that. And then this came out of it. Some of you were around for Mayer Mondays, which was a thing I used to do on my old channel and sort of been replaced by this. So I am excited because if we can get another album, I think it'll be huge for this community and this show, for sure. Because I don't want this to die, and it's not going to. But I think that it'll be a lot easier to keep it going when he brings out new tunes, and then of course tours again, because then we're going to have all kinds of stuff to talk about. But in the meantime, like I said, this big thing, which I think is big, will hopefully bridge that gap a little bit, because it's a concept, it's an idea, and would feature some people I think that would be a lot of fun to have on the show. So there's your tease. That's the best I can do. As soon as I know it's really going to happen, members, thank you to you, you will find out, and you're going to find out like a lot. As long as I can trust you and swear you to secrecy, because I don't want it to get leaked out. But I mean, inevitably everything does. But we're also not dealing with like state secrets here. But it would help if when I am able to tell members, if you would keep it to yourself. In the meantime, if you are a member, there'll be more stuff coming out there. Some leftover odds and ends from my interview and talk with Alex Mayer from Super Dangerous Studios. And we do have another guest coming up on the show, which, you know what? I'm going to tell you about it. I'm going to tease it. I don't know exactly when it's going to come out. It might be next week. It might be the week after. But his name's Gabriel Bergman. And if you're on Instagram, you're a guitar player, you know who Gabriel Bergman is, because he is like the forefront of Grateful Dead style John Mayer guitar playing lessons. He's primarily a guitar teacher, but he's a really good online personality as well. So he and I had a whole discussion about a really, really cool thing he got to do about 5 years ago at this point. So I'll leave it at that. But he's going to be the next guest, which was super fun to talk to. I've met Gabe multiple times in person. Phenomenal guitar player, really great dude. And just really fun to have him on the show. And I hope he'll come back again. I'm sure he will. And so that's what you have to look forward to. But there will be odds and ends from that one as well in the member section if you want to sign up there, support the channel, and get some extra stuff. Maybe it'll help you get through those weeks when I don't post a show, which to my credit has only been I think I've only missed 1 week. I haven't looked at the streak, but I think we're on like a 25 or 30 week streak of putting out content on everything Mayer. So I think that wraps it up. That really wraps it up. It's a good week back. By the time we record next week, actually, you know what? No, Gabe won't be next week. Here, I'll tell you why. Because August 30th, Automatic Yes is out. So we're going to have to talk about it after we hear the full track, of course. Maybe I'll break it down and get my guitar. We'll play parts of it because I can't play the actual song. But I will, certainly try to learn it and figure out what's going on there and see if there's actually any guitar parts to even learn on the song itself. But with that, I think this concludes the re-energized, after a refreshed week off version of Everything Mayer. As always, my mind is blown that so many of you come back every week to listen to this, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. It is so fun. It's so awesome to get to nerd out on my favorite artist, John Mayer, and who I presume is also your favorite artist. And until then, see you next week. Enjoy it. Enjoy that absolutely automatic yes when it hits all streaming services on the 30th. And we will talk about it next week on Everything Mayer.